Hi viewers, the assembly election in Chhattisgarh is right around the corner, and let's have a candid talk with Puneet Yadav, senior political journalist of the Federal. Hello, Puneet. Um, let's first talk about the Candy Crush saga, like quite literally, because journalists, analysts, everyone seem to be talking about the ground issues, the core issues, and then the politicians are fighting about Candy Crush being played by the chief minister. What's your take on that?
Yeah, hi, Ashwin. So I agree. I mean, this is it's a pity that in an election uh, when you have so many other issues to talk about, and I mean the politicians, the main parties in the fray have a lot, whether they are in the opposition or in power. If you're in power, you have a lot to talk about with regard to how you have performed over the past 5 years. If you are in the opposition, you will naturally try and find fault with what the government has done, or at least offer a better, more positive, kind of an alternative vision of what you would do when you come to power. But what we're seeing in Chhattisgarh over the last couple of days is this absolutely churlish, to and fro between the Congress and the BJP, with the BJP charging the chief minister, Mr. Bhupesh Baghel, of playing this mobile game called Candy Crush while attending a meeting of the party, to assess the poll preparedness in Chhattisgarh. And the chief minister also, you know, giving at length explanations of how Candy Crush is his favorite game. He likes to play Candy Crush once he's finished his meals, or when he's going to, on his way to some meeting, and and then saying that I've been crushing candies, but now I'm going to crush the BJP and things like that. It's absolutely bizarre, absolutely churlish discourse during an election. One would have imagined, or one would have hoped, that the BJP would talk about, the performance of the Baghel government. They would talk about issues with regard to, the financial status of the state. They would talk in regard to the issues of communal, tensions that have cropped up, or they would talk about tribal welfare, considering that Chhattisgarh is a tribal dominated state. And one would have expected the Congress to speak more about what they've been doing over the last 5 years, or how they are, in their view, better in government in the last 5 years than the 15 years of the BJP's government before them. But sadly, what we're seeing is a discussion on Candy Crush.
But my question is, when you have a golden opportunity to challenge a sitting government in the form of elections, why would the opposition pick this as the issue? Because I feel that it lays a comfortable platform for the ruling party to actually travel and not discuss serious issues. Why would BJP do that? What are they
No,
thinking?
well, I mean, to be fair, this is a more recent, this kind of an argument has only been happening over the last couple of days.
Right.
The BJP had been raking up issues of corruption in the Baghel government previously. And I'm sure, or at least I hope, that as the elections pick up, because the Congress is yet to declare its candidates, I'm given to understand that will happen over the next 2 days.
Right.
But I hope that once the candidates are announced and the election campaign, picks up full steam, uh, you will see a more meaningful engagement, or a more meaningful argument, at least, coming from either side. There are, as I said, a number of issues on which the BJP would want to, put the government on the mat. Corruption being one of them, corruption in the transportation of coal, corruption in the recruitment of the Public Service Commission, State Public Service Commission recruitments. Then other allegations of corruption with regard to, specific ministers in the Bhupesh Baghel government, or MLAs, or the officers working in the chief minister's office. And we've seen how the BJP, how the ED and the CBI and the IT have been raiding Chhattisgarh with and various people close to the government and close to the chief minister with great frequency, and so that, I'm sure, is going to be made into a major issue. And also the issue of forest clearances, tribal rights, etc. So I hope that those issues pick up. But then, having said that, what I can say with a certain degree of you know certainty is that over the last 5 years, ever since the BJP lost power in Chhattisgarh in 2018, it has not been able to come up with any cohesive, any strong, clear campaign against the Congress. They've been making personal attacks like the Candy Crush attack on various ministers, chief ministers. They've been, of course, going gaga about, or hammer and tongs at the Congress about the corruption in the Baghel government, and how the chief minister has been you know condoning the corruption, not just of his officers and MLAs, but in general of at various levels of government. So there are those issues, but the BJP has not been able to make a very sound electoral campaign. And that is why the Congress is having it so easy in Chhattisgarh, or at least that seems to be the case, because even if you look beyond the performance of the government, within the party, things over the last 5 years have not been that great, because just like in Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, you had a long running feud, a kind of turf war, although not as pronounced as the one between Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot in Rajasthan. But still, there were ugly scenes time and again of dissent between Mr. T.S. Singh Dev, who's now, just a few months back was made the Deputy Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh. He was apparently promised that he'll be made chief minister after Mr. Bhupesh Baghel completes 2.5 years in office, but that was not, done. And so there were these, constant issues between the CM and his deputy. And at one point in time, they reached a head where Mr. T.S. Singh Dev was alleged by MLAs close to the chief minister of having orchestrated an attack on the MLAs of the Congress party, of his own party. There was another instance where Mr. T.S. Singh Dev was so incensed by these allegations that on the floor of the Chhattisgarh Assembly, he said that he will not come to the assembly till the time these allegations are either proven to be true, or there is an apology that is tendered. There was another occasion when Mr. T.S. Singh Dev put in his resignation as minister of a particular department, because he was not happy with the policy decisions being, as per him, taken arbitrarily by the chief minister for a department of which Mr. T.S. Singh Dev was the minister. So there were these recurring issues of discontent and dissent. And the BJP could have, exploited these, but it failed to do so. And it has failed to also project any leadership in the state. Ever since the central leadership of the BJP, which is Mr. Narendra Modi, Mr. Amit Shah, and Mr. JP Nadda, decided to completely sideline Mr. Raman Singh, who's been a 15-year, 3-term chief minister of Chhattisgarh and continues to be one of the tallest leaders of the party in the state.
And they seem to be doing this. BJP seems to be doing this, like, not only like throughout the
it's the same. It is the same pattern that you see in Madhya Pradesh, in Rajasthan, and I don't know if there is a method to this madness. Only the top leadership of the BJP would know why they're doing what they're doing. But as an observer, or as a student of politics, it surprises me that you have a state where you've had a very robust party organization, you've had a chief minister for 15 years, and you have issues being handed to you on a platter by the ruling party, and you are still not able to present a counter argument to the government and to, essentially haul the government over coals on these issues. So the campaign is lackluster. There's an over reliance on the prime minister and his ability to swing votes, as is the case in Chhattisgarh, in Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh or even Telangana. Uh, and I do not think that the top leadership of the BJP is doing any great service to its own party by running a campaign of this type.
Right. We've spoken in length about BJP and Congress, but what about the other parties? Now, Aam Aadmi Party has announced its third list of candidates. So, do they have any ground presence? What are the other parties up to?
Well, you see, Ashwin, the Chhattisgarh is largely a bipolar state. So the fight is essentially between the Congress and the BJP. There have been other smaller parties. Mr. Ajit Jogi, who was a former chief minister of Chhattisgarh and a Congress leader, had split from the Congress and formed his own party called the Janata Congress Chhattisgarh, which started off with some promise. And, because Mr. Ajit Jogi had his own pockets of influence, but then he's no more. And his son, Amit Jogi, is a very controversial and polarizing figure in Chhattisgarh politics. And he has not shown the kind of political maturity that Mr. Ajit Jogi had to take the party founded by his father, uh, you know, and expand its footprint beyond the constituencies of the family, which were basically Marwahi, where Ajit Jogi used to contest from, or small Bhanu Pratappur, and a couple of other constituencies where the party had managed to win 2000 in 2018. 2018, the Janata Congress had got 5 seats, and that was its debut election. So it was not a bad start. They polled roughly around 7% of the votes. They got 5 assembly seats, and considering that it's a small assembly of just 90 members, uh, if the result had not been so resoundingly in favor of the Congress, the 5 MLAs of the Janata Congress could have even played kingmaker. If it was somewhere close to a hung assembly verdict. But then the party has just lost steam. The other players then are very tiny parties which have failed to sustain themselves after starting with tall claims, such as the Gondwana Ganatantra Party, which is essentially a party that talks about the tribal causes. The BSP, Mayawati's BSP, has tied up with the Gondwana Ganatantra Party in Chhattisgarh, but I doubt that they will have any major impact on polling. They may wean away a few, 100 or maybe 1,000 votes or so in some seats, and they might end up being a spoiler for the Congress in a few seats, if there are tight contests. But whether there will be tight contests, we can't say at the moment, because we have to see how the campaign pans out. We also have to see what kind of candidates the Congress puts up against, the BJP's candidates. The BJP has already declared pretty much all its candidates, roughly 85 out of 90 candidates we already know. They fielded several members of parliament, just as they've done in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. So with your, to your specific thing on the Aam Aadmi Party, I would be amazed if the Aam Aadmi Party manages to save its deposit on any of the 90 seats on which it contests the election. It has absolutely no presence in Chhattisgarh, and it has not focused on building the party in the state at all. I also think that being part of the India alliance, at some level, there is an agreement between Mr. Arvind Kejriwal and the Congress that, unlike his campaign or his party's campaign in Gujarat last year, he will not campaign very aggressively in Chhattisgarh or Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan. But even if he had done so, I do not think that the party would have had any impact. Predominantly because you cannot just come to a state, a month before elections, announce candidates and say, we're going to expand here now. In Gujarat, the party had been working for a considerable amount of time to build its base. Similarly, in Punjab, it had been working for several years to build its base. In Chhattisgarh or in Madhya Pradesh or even in Rajasthan, the party has nothing. In Madhya Pradesh, they managed to win a mayoral election in Singrauli, which is in eastern in the eastern part of MP. But then that result was not because the Aam Aadmi Party was very popular. It was because the candidate they chose was popular. So what one may see happening in the case of the Aam Aadmi Party is that, say, the Congress decides to bench some of its sitting MLAs who are popular, but the Congress decides not to give them a ticket. Or there may be some BJP leaders who have been denied tickets but have their pockets of influence. They may have been picked up or may be picked up by the Aam Aadmi Party as their candidates. And then, they might get some votes. But then when the voter essentially knows that, this is a bipolar contest, it will be either the Congress or the BJP that will form the government. I do not think that the voter is going to waste his vote on a party it knows is not going to register any great presence.
Right. Because what you said, rang a bell, because the way I saw it, Aam Aadmi Party's national expansion, they've always tried to take Congress's place as the major opposition.
That's true.
Their aim has been not to displace BJP, but to displace Congress in states where there are bipolar contests, or in states where Congress has lost its footing a little bit.
That's
But
true.
what you said, perhaps they are now part of the India alliance. I'm even surprised when you said they are taking a back seat.
Yeah, no, and see, the thing is, the Aam Aadmi Party takes advantage of a weak Congress where it can. In Chhattisgarh, the Congress is not weak. In Gujarat, the Congress was weak. The Congress has been out of power in Gujarat for the last 27 years. So the organization was anyway weak. The campaign did not really take off. The leaders were unhappy. And so the Aam Aadmi Party saw a vacuum which it tried to fill. In Chhattisgarh, the Congress has a very strong organizational base. Plus, it is in power. Of course, as I said, there may be certain compulsions of being part of the India alliance which may be playing out, but that's a secondary cause. Similarly, in Madhya Pradesh, the Congress has a strong, has an organizational presence, and it has a strong chance in this election. Same is the case with Rajasthan, where the Congress is in power. It has a very solid base in terms of the organization. So there is no vacuum that the Aam Aadmi Party can
So
come and fill,
maybe
or
this whole thing plays into Aam Aadmi Party strategy, so they comfortably playing good boy with Congress and taking
exactly,
alliances.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Right. Let's discuss about the candidates announced by BJP. Now, Congress has not yet come out with a list, but the CEC meeting took place, so perhaps we can expect something out of it later. But for now, BJP has announced, I think they are yet to announce only 5 more candidates,
Yeah.
if I'm not wrong. So let's talk about that. You said that, Chhattisgarh is a tribal dominated state, but The way I see it, their candidates list is dominated by OBCs. How do you see that?
No, well, I mean, see, there are 29 reserved seats for the tribals
Hmm.
and 10 reserved seats for the Dalits out of 90. So naturally, I mean, on those seats, the BJP cannot give any other community leader. So you have 29 tribal leaders on those 29 seats,
Hmm.
and you have 10 Dalit leaders on the Dalit reserved, the scheduled caste reserved seats. Aside from this, the party has given 29 or 27, I forget the count, but 27 or 29
Hmm.
OBC leaders
Hmm.
tickets in, from the general category seats. Now, that is because there is a formidable, overwhelming population of backward classes in Chhattisgarh. And, uh, and that plays out in elections in terms of voter consolidation. Uh, Also because the chief minister, Mr. Bhupesh Baghel, comes from a backward class group. He's a Kurmi, and he has projected himself as this tall. The Congress has also projected him as a major backward class leader who's coming up in the Congress's scheme. Add to that is the Congress's push for a caste survey, which is largely seen not as a strategy oriented only to the Dalits and the tribals,
Hmm.
but to the backward classes. Because we already have a census for Dalits and tribals. We don't have a census for backward classes. And that has been a long-standing demand, which is now picking up steam as we move towards the Lok Sabha election, with the India Alliance also backing demands for a caste survey in states and a caste census at the national level. So I think, the BJP's decision of fielding a lot of OBC candidates is to offset the damage being caused to the party by the Congress's assertion that the BJP is an anti-OBC party because it is not on board for the caste census. It is not supporting demands for a caste survey.
Right.
And, previously, its chief minister for 15 years, Mr. Raman Singh, was a Thakur. That's an upper caste. And so the BJP only pays lip service to the cause of the Dalits and the OBCs and the tribals, but doesn't really do anything for these classes.
Right.
So, and if you note, if you've noticed this over the last 5 years, the BJP has tried to bring in a lot of political representation of OBCs into its scheme. Uh, During the Lok Sabha, the special session of the parliament, when the women's reservation bill was being discussed and the opposition talked about an OBC quota in the women's reservation. And they talked about how the BJP is an anti-OBC party, and Rahul Gandhi said there are only 3 secretaries out of 90 in the government of India who come from the OBC category. The counter from the BJP was that we have done more for representation of OBC than any other party because we have X number of union ministers from the OBC community, which is the highest ever. We have X number of MPs from the OBC community, which is more than the Congress's total strength of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha put together, and all that. So that's the same kind of pitch that the BJP wants to make, that we do not need a caste survey to give representation to OBCs. We do it on our own, and that is why if you look at our candidates, a bulk of them come from the backward classes. So that seems to be the strategy.
Right. I would also like you to talk about Baghel playing up this Chhattisgarhi identity of late. How do you think it will reflect with the voters?
Well, I think what Mr. Bhupesh Baghel has done is very smart politics. See, he came to the chief minister's throne after Mr. Raman Singh, who was CM for 15 years.
Right.
And Mr. Raman Singh had built up a certain brand for himself, which was of a leader from the grassroots, who came from, who was a practicing doctor before he joined politics. He used to, there's a constituency that Mr. Raman Singh at one point used to represent called Kavardha. And every Saturday, Mr. Raman Singh would, sit at his clinic attending to patients. And he was called the Shanichar doctor. Shanichar is, another way of, in Hindi word for Saturday. So he was called the Shanichar doctor at one point in Chhattisgarh, common political discussions. And then after he became chief minister, he brought in a lot of welfare schemes. In 2008, he was distributing rice at 2 rupees a kg. In 2013, when he won again, he brought that price down to 1 rupees a kg, and that earned him this moniker, this nickname with the electorate of Chaur Wale Baba. Chaur is chawal in Chhattisgarh.
Right.
And so he had a certain image of this grassroots leader, very guy next door chief minister who was approachable, accessible, despite having been CM for so long, who was pro welfare and all of that. What Mr. Bhupesh Baghel has done is he's taken all of that from Mr. Raman Singh by bringing in and by adding to the welfare model and made it even more potent as a brand for himself by adding us a regional identity element to it. And so what you see Mr. Bhupesh Baghel doing very frequently is he will suddenly go to these small villages and small towns of Chhattisgarh, and Chhattisgarh is largely a rural state. And he will join the locals in playing the local sports. You'll find him playing kabaddi. You'll find him playing gilli danda. I mean, Candy Crush, of course, is more for the upper class elite. But he's equally at ease with these local games that are very popular all across Chhattisgarh. There is a popular thing called Gedi. Gedi is basically there are two canes with kind of a foothold on which you climb and you walk on those two sticks. And that's another one of Mr. Bhupesh Baghel's favorite things to do when he's visiting villages. A lot of the schemes that his government has brought in play up this sub-regional and regional identity. So he was the one who came up with this whole idea of Chhattisgarhi Olympics, where again the local sports and the tribal sports of Chhattisgarh, archery, etc., or local sports like gilli danda, walking the gedi, and all that. Or there's another thing called dhora, which is you take it's a kind of a whip which you hit it's an endurance test, so to speak, where you hit your wrist with that rather thick rope till the time you feel the pain and you take your hand back, and when you take the hand back, that's when you lose. So all of these were made part of Chhattisgarh Olympics, which was promoted in that sense. Then he came up with this whole four-pronged scheme of Narwa, Gadua, Badi, which was basically a kind of multi-pronged program to develop rivers and rivulets, develop vegetable gardens in your house, then use cow dung, and because since it's a rural state, a lot of the households keep livestock. So how to use livestock, how to monetize things like cow dung. And that's in fact a scheme that the BJP has now been promising. Mr. Narendra Modi has been promising, in UP and a lot of other states, that the government will purchase cow dung from rural households and compensate you for that, or pay you for that. So all of this basically gave Mr. Bhupesh Baghel a Raman Singh plus identity or brand value, where he was not only seen as, or is not only seen as a very pro-welfare chief minister, but also who's very comfortable in his skin as a Chhattisgarhi, dyed in the wool Chhattisgarhi politician. You'll never find him speaking in English. He, even when he's speaking in Hindi, he'll bring in, common phrases from the local Chhattisgarhi dialogues while talking.
Right.
So all of that is part of that brand value, and that always has, in any state, it's not just Chhattisgarh, but in any state, when you have political leaders who play up this regional identity, it always strikes an emotive chord with the voter. And so I think it's rather smart politics on part of Mr. Bhupesh Baghel. I'm amazed that the BJP, which is actually a past master at doing this, failed to do this in the 15 years that Mr. Raman Singh was chief minister. So I think that definitely goes to Mr. Baghel's credit.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.